Welcome back to Coffee Time. Get you another cup of coffee. Enjoy the rest of the program today. Thursday mornings mean one guy coming in here to visit with us. He's been doing it since about 40 years ago. Daddy Cain, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
You were a young man when you started this stuff.
Dark color hair and everything. It's been
you
quite
did come over here early 90s.
I did. The first time I taped this show was in 1993.
That's what I thought.
And,
we're certainly glad to have you. You bring a lot of good stuff to the table each and every week, from 4-H to you name it, to how to plant my trees and cut my trees. And now we're going to talk about this weather where we got no rain.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm missing the cooler weather you brought us in there about 3 weeks ago. That was really that fall teaser was just
you
really
need to do something about
enjoyable.
this no rain stuff.
It is. If you hadn't noticed lately, it is dry out there now. We have, generally we're in that kind of late summer transitioning into the fall period where we do tend to get these extended dry periods.
But this is September, but October is really our driest month.
October on average is one of our drier months, and then so far the extended forecast don't look to be anything different than that.
That's right.
Hot for the time of the year and very, very dry.
Does it affect our hay farmers? I see a lot of cutting hay going on.
It really affects everybody, but I was talking to a producer just earlier this week who, you're concerned with running hay equipment and tillage equipment over hay, and getting a fire started with a baler or a tractor manifold or exhaust, or and so it's just that dry, and folks are usually this time of the year we're into our usually with a lot of them who grow Bermuda grass and things are into our third cutting of hay. This time at least well into the second cutting, but usually our third cutting by now. But this one is going to be probably a little less than expected average, just on count of the dry period since the last cut period. But folks are not having any trouble getting it to curing dry this time of the year.
Have we had any statewide fire alerts out?
Nothing yet. No, it is dry and tends to be the further west in the state you go, the drier it gets. So. Whereas as of this morning, anyway, as we're talking, there's been no official burn restrictions or anything like that. But our best advice, if you're looking at burning anything outdoors, and a lot of people do fall prescribed burns and things like that, is to hold off on that till we start to get some moisture back into the ground and back in. Get into one of those higher moisture systems, hopefully a little bit later on this fall.
And some folks, we got a few leaves falling, not really bad yet, but it's coming.
It's coming, and may even be a little bit early this year.
Yeah, because of no weather, no rain.
That's exactly right.
But we got to be careful. If you burn leaves, that could major problem.
Probably one of the worst things you can do actually with those fall leaves is to, and I remember as a kid, one of my jobs, we'd rake them down into the ditch there by the side of the road, and we'd burn them in the ditch and that kind of stuff. But there's a lot more better use for those fall leaves. If you're not going to do anything else with them, collect them up, put them in the garden area, cut them into your garden soil, make some really great soil matter as they break down in the soil, adds organic matter, adds some nutrients, and recycles all that in there, or run some mulching blades. That's what I do. Yeah, about this time of the year is a good time to change those blades over from your typical summertime cut blades to some mulching blades. In preparation for those fall leaves coming, because they will be here, and that is a great source, because same as it works in your garden soil, when you recycle those back into your lawn, it adds organic matter, adds a nutrient in there. You can actually cut the fertilizer down that you have to apply by not bagging and things like that throughout the course of a cutting season in your home lawns. But all those things, seems like not long ago we were talking about how do we deal with all the excess water and the flooding and
we did have a lot
yeah,
of rain. Even in August we had some rain, early August.
That's right, and you know, you know, by early season we had already exceeded our annual rainfall, you know, average for the year. Now we can't seem to even get a heavy dew anymore, but on average we've had a great year, you know.
Yeah,
so that's what I always tell people. On average we've had a really good year.
So be careful out there as you're burning.
Absolutely, and don't forget, if you do have to burn outside, the permits don't cost anything, but you do have to receive a prescribed burn permit from the Alabama Forestry Commission. That's not our office, but from our Forestry Commission office. So you'll need to be in touch with those guys. But best plan is to put that off for a little while until we start to get some rainfall in
Good
here.
deal.
But you know, the dry weather drought affects us in other ways as well. Just from a home lawn standpoint, you and I were talking. You know, it's been close to 3 weeks now since I've had to mow the grass, which seems like a great thing. You know,
but it's not.
But it's not really. You know, because my lawn is browned off just like it was late October heading into November, and fortunately, most of the turf grasses that we use here in and around our area anyway tend to be the warm season turf grasses. Centipede, which by the way is usually one of the first to show drought stress. It reacts by lightning color. It almost turns kind of a whitish, then almost goes dormant. But it's one of the first to show drought stress. But we also grow a lot of zoysia, Bermuda grasses of all descriptions in our lawns. But fortunately, warm season turf grasses tend to be, even though they'll show drought stress in the short run, they tend to bounce back fairly readily once the rain starts back. It's almost a self-preservation thing that those grasses do. A little bit different if it's a newly seeded lawn, either one of the cool seasons like fescue. Certainly, you know, if we extend this on much further, we'll probably see some thinning areas actually in some of our fescues. Cool season grasses, but newly seeded warm season turf grasses or newly sodded warm season turf grasses can suffer a little more stress, and they may warrant a little bit of watering. But general if you're having an established warm season turf grass lawn, we don't usually recommend watering those because they will generally suffice and do fine. Now, there are some things that you can do, and I call this, when we get into these drought conditions, I call it the less is more plan.
Yeah.
Okay. So especially as it pertains to turf grass, first off, you know, less mowing. Okay. Which kind of stands to reason because it's not growing. We don't have to mow as often. But if you're in one of those areas where you are still mowing, you need to raise those mower blades up a little bit. Don't cut it quite as short, and that will help it to deal with stress a little better. Less traffic. You know, the more drought stress a turf grass gets, and we park cars on it. We have those outdoor events out on the particularly centipede. You can really damage centipede that's drought stress by heavy traffic. So give your turf grass a break, and a little bit less traffic, a little bit wear and tear to help it deal with the stress. And finally, and this is probably a bit of good news, but less fertilizer. You know, and we all know how expensive fertilizer, especially those lawn fertilizers, to go out on your turf grass. But in hot, dry conditions like this, the fertilizer really is not a good idea, and it doesn't utilize it very well, particularly the nitrogen fertilizers. So cut back on the fertilizer and cut back on the traffic, cut back on the mowing, just give it all a break. For home gardens, and this is actually, it's kind of one of my favorite times of the year to garden with all those wonderful fall crops we can do.
What are some of the crops that you would recommend for this time of year?
Yeah, we can.
Turnip greens?
Yeah, we can do this time of year. You know, your turnip greens, your collards. There's some onion slips that you can do this time of the year. There's a lot of others that you can do. Depending on sometimes even some cabbages, but generally radishes, beets. That are those type things. But the plant, because of the dry weather, it takes not only moisture to grow crops or whatever, but if you're growing from seeds, it takes moisture to germinate. So you're going to have to factor in, am I willing to keep this crop watered until the natural rainfall starts back in? So we're either then got to use either the method that my mother was real fond of, and that was send me to the water spigot with a bucket of water and tote that to the garden and water the plants that way. I'm not fond of that anymore, And
if we say October or no rain month, then we got about 6 more weeks before we get what I call
that's
a good
what
rain.
That's what I would plan for, and. So you can use soaker hose. Now, soaker hose is not the greatest thing in the world. The problem with soaker hose is that they're not uniform. You can buy them at the same store, off the same rack, the same day, sitting right side by side, and they don't uniformly put out the same amount of water. That's just the nature of soaker hose. But it's much better than nothing, okay? And they're not really good as far as being efficient with the amount of water that you put out, okay? There are some really good, easy, simple drip tape irrigation systems now that are designed for home gardens. We've been teaching this in our Master Gardener class over the last couple weeks or so about how to assemble those, how to put them together. Both Brian Brown at the office and myself as well have been teaching how to do that. But they're really easy. The kits they have now is basically just like putting PVC pipe together. We can all do it. The drip tape is real easy to install. It's very, very efficient with watering. Okay, you'll waste a lot less water. It does a lot better job in slow watering, and that gives you the deeper water penetration into the ground, which is highly desirable in these kind of weather conditions. And by the way, now is a good time of the year because most of the stores, what are we getting ready for? It's only mid-September, and we're well in the way of getting ready for Christmas already. So we're clearing out those garden centers and things. You can find a lot of irrigation stuff on sale right now, in fact. And so I've actually, I just went and bought a few pieces that I liked on a system that I'm using at home. Got a good deal on them, but they're, so search those bargains, seasonal type stuff, because summer gardening season is over. Christmas is right around the corner. Hard to believe, but stores are getting ready for Christmas, so now's a good time to do that shopping. Now, another question I get asked a lot about this time of the year is hummingbirds.
Yes.
And what is going?
I love my hummingbirds.
Oh, we have a wonderful time. Almost every morning I'll get up and have a cup of coffee, sit out on the back deck and watch the hummingbirds there around the feeder and stuff. But what you'll notice about this time of the year is that you're starting to get a lot more activity around your feeders. Where during the summer we'd have 2 or 3, at the most. I counted 5 or 6 the other day at our feeder. So, and there's a good reason for that. Hummingbirds, we've talked about this on air as we talked about those little birds before. They are preparing for the annual migration. They're migratory birds, and these little guys go all the way, across the Gulf down to Central and South America, where they'll overwinter down there. And so to get prepared for that, what they're doing now is they're building up body reserves. They're feeding extra. And they will gain about 50% body weight in preparation for that migration down there. And keep in mind, hummingbird at 50%, we're talking about they're going to gain a couple of ounces.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's very important for the birds, because that's the reserve that they're going to burn all that energy to get down that far.
If a bird left Jasper, Alabama, headed to Panama Canal Zone, somewhere in that area, how long is that trip?
That's a good question. I honestly can't answer that. And
is that a month, or is that? How long is that trip?
I really don't know. That's a great question.
We'll look that up.
Yeah, that's a great question.
We'll talk about that.
But I do know this. Because not only do these hummingbirds start from Jasper, Alabama, and migrate south, but a lot of them are coming all the way up from the Mississippi Valley, that far. So, they stop periodically along the way to feed.
Yeah, they may be coming from Kentucky or Indiana.
Or further north than that.
Yeah, my goodness.
And so what, first question I always get is, do you leave the hummingbird feeders up this time of the year? And that is an absolute, you absolutely leave those. The fact is, I leave my hummingbird feeders up usually till about December. And so that helps to accommodate those that are traveling a little bit further than our summer resident birds here. You know, so, and I have them stop in all the time through Thanksgiving, and you know, occasionally you'll see one or two even that late, and then they'll move on. And so keep those, keep your hummingbird feeders out. If you're getting a lot of activity around, now they're very, if you've ever watched hummingbirds, they're very defensive about their feeding areas, very territorial. So if you're getting a lot of that activity and they seem to be doing more chasing each other away than feeding, you might want to consider at least temporarily putting up a second feeder a little bit further away. I usually recommend kind of in a shady area, not out in the full, you know, full blistering sun. Keep them clean. You know, with this heat, with the amount of sunshine that we're getting, that sugar water tends to spoil very quickly, or mold, or to outright spoil, and that's really detrimental to the bird. So keep that. I change my nectar solution out in my hummingbird feeders this time of the year about every other day. So you have to do it really often.
You mentioned one time about the color of the water.
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, we do not anymore recommend adding food coloring or anything to the nectar solution. Plain white table sugar and water, about 4 parts water, 1 part sugar.
Plain water.
Yep, plain.
No color.
No color, no food color. You know, used to be the recommendation back years ago was to add a couple of drops of food color. You get that color red, which you're kind of attracted to. It's not necessary. Most of the hummingbird feeders that we use come, the construction has red color in there, which simulates their natural flowers and things like that. That's enough to attract those birds. So don't put anything else into the hummingbird feeder other than just plain white table sugar and water. You know, and so that includes, we don't use things like brown sugar or confectionery sugar,
plain white sugar.
Honey. I don't know why I always get asked about honey, putting honey in the hummingbird feeder. Honey is a more complex sugar, and the hummingbirds can't digest that. So it's very detrimental. Just plain table sugar and water is all you need. I don't even buy the pre-mixed solutions anymore out of the store. I mix my own. Just get, you know, sugar is relatively cheap, so you know, mix your own, put it in the feeder, don't put any color with it, keep it clean and change it periodically, and most importantly, keep those things up throughout the season. As long as you're seeing any activity, keep those feeders out, and hopefully we'll do a lot better job taking care of our hummingbirds than what we have in the past, because they are a pleasure.
Time for them, so they're busy.
Absolutely, you're going to enjoy the show for the hummingbird wise, at least for the next 2 to 3 weeks probably, before they generally start migrating out of here in pretty good numbers, usually about the first part of October, sometimes a little later than that. But
you got any classes coming up?
Man, got some great programs up and coming, make people aware of. Excuse me. Start with one. Now this is kind of a new program for us. We haven't done one of these workshops here in Jasper before, and I'm very excited about it. It's called All About Eggs. Okay. Now we've talked about chick chain, and we've talked about backyard poultry, and talked about eggs. So we're doing a dedicated program on producing eggs in the backyard, and we're going to talk about things like grading the eggs and weighing the eggs, and how do you care for your eggs. And we're going to talk. A lot of people are asking, you know, how, like we've got these backyard flocks. We're getting so many eggs a day. How can we sell those extra eggs to make a little bit of income? So we're going to talk about getting those eggs prepared to sell either from home or from a farmer's market. And in order to sell from a farmer's market, they have to be weighed and graded, and you know, and those type of things. So we're going to talk about those things. But the program is, and we're also going to talk about some biosecurity, you know, measures, taking care of your flock, taking care of your eggs. Should be a really good workshop. It's free of charge. There's no charge to attend. That's
when is it?
September the 24th.
Coming up.
Not far. Now we don't, like I said, we're not charging registration fee. It's free to come to, but we do require you to, or ask you to pre-register so that we'll know you're coming. You can do that either online. In fact, if you'll Google Walker County All About Eggs, it'll take you right to the registration site, or you can call our office. We'll be glad to help you out. But that starts at 2:30. Should last about an hour and a half to a couple of hours, so we'll be done in time for supper. And so that's going to be a fun one, and it's a workshop that we get a lot of questions about. Be on the lookout. We're fixing to start pushing out our information, even though we're only in September. Registration for next spring Master Gardener class, and so be on the lookout for that. On October the 11th, we'll be doing our Chick Chain Show and Auction up there in conjunction with the Indian Head Festival up there with the good folks at Cordova. And we're also going to have another extension group up there doing a little bit of farm safety type stuff. So we're going to have a good day up there. But get that in mind. If you want to come and see the poultry show, the chicken show, help support those kids, that'll be on October the 11th that morning. But any question about the All About Eggs workshop, give us a call.
All right. Contact Danny at 221-3392 at the office, or go on the website, acs.edu. Danny, thank you, sir.
Appreciate you having us. Thank you.
See you next week. We're going to take a break. Come right back with more Coffee Time.